So similar things happening in the project environment. So I want you to look at this and tell me, what are you seeing? Just let's spend 1 minute working on that. Yeah, one-sided communication. Well, by the way, when you make it one-sided, is it a communication? Right? One-sided is not really communication. Communication is two ways. So let's look at this one. Why do we care about that in project management? What are you seeing in this? So let's just digest for a minute, okay? So that's, I want to start from here, from this one. What the customer really wanted, right? Projects always start with a customer request. Customer wants you to do something and you start doing it, right? And then what the customer needed, that's their need, what we call, right? And then they explain, we tell them, hey, can you explain it to us? So we switch from this to that, right? And then we say, that's how the customer explained it to us. Wait a minute. There's a tire over here, right? And they are not explaining the same thing they need. How come? Like, that's strange, right? They need something, but they explain us differently. That's with the customer, right? Customer is always wrong, right? No, customer is always right angle. So how the customer explained it, how the project leader understood it. So, well, they are already explaining it wrong, but even what they explained, we understand it wrong, right? And then we hand it over to analysts. Let's say in this course, I guess most of the people are like some kind of programming and stuff. So how the analyst, and then how they explained it to programmer. Look, now analyst understanding like that, programmer is doing this, the swing, and then the business consultants, I don't think we have any here, do we? And they are like polishing the product and, you know, advertising and marketing it really well. Well, the product is over here, right? That's how they advertise. And then look, the project documentation. What do we have here? Nothing. When next time we want to do the project, a smart team member will ask, wait a minute, we do this project every year. What did we do last year? And there's no last year documented. Or it's something you repeat every 2-3 years. Nothing is documented. Does this come familiar? Yeah. And then how the operations install it, that's fine. And that's another funny one, like the healthcare system. That's how you build. Well, you walked into our hospital, that's $100. A nurse greeted you at $500. You laid on the bed, it's $1,000. Okay. You use the restroom, $50. That's how they build, right? Like a roller coaster. And there was this Incredicoaster, which was exactly like that. That's how they bill us, right? And what is the support from the upper management? There's no support. They want to kill your project, right? They always say, we don't have money, we don't have time, let's kill it, right? But you have this emotional attachment with your project and you don't want to kill it, right? And some of the time they will think, hey, there's right angle and there's left angle, right? Well, that's kind of funny, but they will not have your expertise most of the time. Well, some high-tech heavy companies like, you know, of course, Google, Apple, and stuff like that, they want to promote the technology person to the management positions. That's what I see more and more. Like if there's a core competency in the business, they just don't want to like have an MBA on it. They want to have someone like you guys, like coming from engineering department, engineering education, right? Maybe with an engineering master's degree, and then put them in a management level, leadership level of the company. That's the trend mostly, not only an MBA, right? But anyway, most of the time, no support. And let's not forget where we came from. We came from this. So customer needed this. I don't really blame them. They described it like this to us, but I blame everything in between. Okay? I never blame the customer. I blame everything else. Let's talk about this for a few minutes. Why the customer is really not being able to explain what they needed. Let's see, programmers. Why they can't just explain this tire or tire swing to us, but do this. Forget a need described as you want it as a biomedical engineer, as a computer scientist, computer engineer, industrial engineer, any engineer. Nobody will be able to describe what they need as they need it and how they need it. And there's a lot of reasons. They don't know the root causes, like Jacob said. They don't know the technology, right? We can't really blame them. But we want to probe questions, make surveys, approach them from different angles, maybe one survey, one face-to-face meeting, one on-site visit, right, to the hospital, just looking at the patient and the doctor relation and how is that process in the hospital, maybe go a site visit, right? And then observe yourself what can be the need. And then combining all these different angles, now you can melt them in a pot and then say, doctor, is that probably close to what you needed? And probably they'll say yes, because after this work, all this work, you will be able to nail it down. Sometimes we do this, like customer says something and then we try to do it. And then they say, oh, I really didn't mean that. Well, that's exactly what you said. Well, I said it, but that's really not what I needed. Customer is fine, right? We are the ones spending the money, effort, all these hours on the product. And if we come up with the wrong product, that's bad. So we really need to approach the customer from different angles, try to understand what they need physically and in their mind. Sometimes they just wish to have something, right? So that's also legitimate too. Well, I'm coming from a military background, as you all know. I would like to have a flying tank. Well, I can wish for it, but I don't know if any company will do it. But I can wish for it, right? Okay, so need is like, I think Dr. Jared also mentioned this in the introduction last week. Yeah, need is that's all starts there, need. But sometimes we don't know what we need really and how the technology meets our needs. That's the job of the company again, anyways, like this part, to find out what you really need, what they really need, and how do you meet. Sometimes they need more things than needed, and you can say, look, if we do this, that's a lot of money, but I think if we do this much, we will still suffice your need, and it'll be cheaper. So try to make the customer successful, do not be a pleaser. Whenever customer says something, yes, we'll do it. Yes, we'll do it. Well, that's not the case always, right? The customer will like you if you are a consultant, manufacturing, serving them. They will be happy if you make them successful, if you make successful products. Okay. Any questions, any contributions about that? These are all, of course, the yellow part is the internal communications, like in the video. So we can talk hours about it. But one thing I want you to remember here, don't blame the customer and use probing questions, use different angles like surveys and everything to come up with really how to meet their need and understand their need. That's the takeaway from this slide. Contributions? Okay, let me look at the chat for a minute. If I missed anything there, they don't have they don't have the language to understand. Yeah, the technology, they are not up to date. Customers know the result they want to see, but they're not clear with the exact. Exactly. That's why I was in a training. How many? I said you should sell solutions. You should sell solutions. Nowadays, customers don't want products. We don't want products. We want solutions. Right? That's very different than product. And I think what Wang wrote exact solutions. That's what triggered me. Wang, thank you for writing this. So companies should sell solutions, and solutions to, exactly like Meng said, solutions to customer needs. If you just sell a product, that's not really a solution, especially for software companies, right? For software companies, you have to tailor your solutions, tailor to the companies or customers, whoever this customer. And I said, I'm not gonna tell the name, but I said, okay, what is your company name? And they said, this, and this. You see, the solutions are in your name and you don't know it. So the company name is like this XYC or XSZ, and S is solutions, right? They were really surprised. Oh my goodness, we have solutions in our title and we don't think about it. Yeah, we usually don't think about it. Some smart guy, when they established the company, they said we need to sell solutions, but it's forgotten, right? So we gotta sell solutions, guys. All right. Hopefully a good discussion so far. Thanks for the contribution. So what's definition project, right? So a temporary endeavor undertaken to create a unique product, service, or result, right? So that's project definition from PMBOK guide. If you want to be PMP certified, which is a little bit of expensive, I think it's around 500. I don't know if any recent takers PMP examination, it's around 400, 500 certification. They have a PMBOK guide that you need to study, and most of my citations or slides come from there when there's a definition or something like that. So it's a temporary endeavor undertaken to create a product, service, or result, right? So I don't want to memorize this. I don't want you to memorize this, but let's analyze this. So it says it's a temporary, it's to create, and it says unique product, service, and result. So every word here means something. Okay, sometimes we really pass fast the definitions, but definitions contain a lot of good information. So it says temporary. What do you understand? Well, temporary means you have a starting date and an end date. It shouldn't go forever, right? That's number one. It says to create. It's not saying to repeat, right? It's not saying to repeat, right? It should be unique. It's also not saying create the same product, right? And it's not only saying product, it's saying also service or any result, like I said, solution. Okay. So, and this is not permanent, right? So do you understand how much good information is in the definition? So that's project. So it ends, right? All projects ends, and it can be large or small. So sometimes we think that if the budget is $1,000, that shouldn't be a project. No, that's still a project, right? It's still a project. It just has a small budget, $10,000, $20,000. It doesn't have to be $1 million project. It doesn't have to be like a big construction project, building a highway or anything like that. It doesn't have to be that. It can be long time. It can take long or short, okay, to complete it. And it's not a routine operation, which means it shouldn't be a repetitive operations. Okay, so based on this, who is working in a project environment? Who is creating a temporary something to create a unique solution? Well, I'm asking this, but I really don't know like how many of us employed. Like, is everybody student or recent grad? I don't know. So let's see. Anyone working in a company right now? One. Okay, at least one. Okay, two, three, four, five. Okay, so maybe 10. So it's not really a lot. Okay, it's just 10%. Okay. So because the reason is I will always ask questions like, what is your experience in your company? And well, if you never worked somewhere, of course you don't have that experience. Okay. I'm a career changer. Deborah, I need to see you. Career changer. Then you will need soft skills, right? Okay, so that's the project definition. So some common things are temporary and unique. Okay, temporary and unique. You can read those. So examples. In, are you specialized in something? Okay, excellent. So some examples. Give me some examples of project. Is building this a project? Basically, two things. Did this thing have a budget? Was this thing a repetition of something? And was this thing had it was it temporary? Right? That's the things that we want to look at it, which works for pyramids. How about how about a bridge? Like we have 10 people. That's a project too. Okay, now writing an app. Is that a project for programmers? It's a project too. Yeah, it's a project. How about teaching a class? It's a project as well. And one of the comments, Jacob, repeating that project, I mean, lecture or course, let's say, it's some might think it's a project. It's not a project. It's a routine activity, but it's not. First of all, students change. My schedule changes, time changes, so content changes. Right? It's we don't want to change it a lot, like make it a different course because we want continuity. Uh, but assignments change, right? Exam questions change. So it's a project as well. How about taking a course? Can you think of it as a project, like being a student in a course? It has a specific ending. Uh, there is deliverables in the project, right? There's assignments, there are quizzes, and when professors enters, these are all examples. So why I have this slide? So don't think if you are working on the computer, it's not a project. It doesn't have to be a construction. Don't think that if you are doing the, for example, you are, let's say, planning a conference every year. That's a project. Let's say you are planning a visit to China every year for your company. That's a project. It's every year, but it doesn't mean repetition. Repetition means like if you are in the company and doing the same thing every day, right? You're a car manufacturing factory and you're installing the tires and screwing it. That's not a project. You're doing the same thing every day, right? That's a repetitive task. In the projects, there may be repetitive actions and processes, but that doesn't mean that it's not a project. Okay, so you're installing tires and screwing them. That's not a project. All right. So project management, you can just read those. But what I want to emphasize is there is that your target is as a project manager is really you are juggling three things. You're trying to balance three things, which are basically time, cost, and scope. Time, cost, and scope. You are trying to juggle all these things, and your target is not on one of these axes. Target are not one of these axes. Your target is three-dimensional, really. So you want to be balancing scope, cost, and time. Let's say you prepared an exam really well couldn't take the test, so you were late in the schedule. Well, then that's not success, right? You have to work hard and you have to be on time. So it's similar to project management. You have to meet all the scope of your customer, which was the tire hanging on a tree. That was the scope, kind of a scope, not really, but yeah, scopes at the end of the day. And you have a budget to work in, and then you have a time to deliver your deliverables. Okay. So what is it not? The only thing I want to say here is sometimes when I see like companies have, hey, you know what? We have a new project management software like Monday.com or anything like that, right? Microsoft Office, Primavera. That's not the solution. Project management is also in your mind. It's a habit. It's a culture in the business. Just downloading one software is one step, but it's not going to solve all your project management problems. Sometimes companies hire a project manager and think that the entire company will be a better project management. No, it'll take time. It's a culture. So you need to work on culture and methods and skills and understanding of the people. Okay. So project manager is so you work with everyone, with the customer, your boss, stakeholders, anyone that has a say in your project. So really your project success lies over here. It's not only the users, right? Of course, we are meeting the need of the user, right? Yeah, of course, that's right. But to do that, you are working with your business and maybe other businesses as well, and your suppliers too. So you have all these complex components and supply chain going on, and your project lies, if you can juggle all these things, that's what they look for. Okay. If you have a good company, but very good customer portfolio, but you couldn't really agree with suppliers, like what to supply, when to supply, if you're failing that part, the project is not successful. Okay. So it's not only customer, I want to say. Everything starts with the customer, but to meet the need of the customer, there's a lot other things going on. What I want to mention here is, so there's an enter phase and start phase, and I always like to draw. So there's an enter start phase, okay? So when you look at the PMP, again, if you are going to certification, you will see there's a initiation phase mentioned, planning phase, execution, closing, monitoring and control, and also exit. Entering phase is not really mentioned. Really, project starts with initiation, right? And then when you initiate the project, you start planning the details. Well, first rough planning, right? General planning, and then you detail your planning. And then you plan and then execute this plan. And then you plan again and then execute this plan. Plan again, execute this plan. If you remember from the soft skills, I said, you know what? Execute it. And then as you execute it, you will need some more planning. And as you go through the project phases, you have to plan in detail and execute in more details. So it's a repetitive process here. And then when you are done with all the deliverables, you close it and then exit out. Okay. So for example, the initiation, let's talk about this course. Okay. The initiation of this course, let me erase this. And we kind of talk about what we need to do and stuff. And then initiation phase really started like when we make our canvas on, when we try to recruit some graders, right? All these things, also a project. And we planned the process. Okay, what time we should do it, which dates, which day of the week we should do it, what should we teach it, and everything, right? And then and then as we go, we will plan more, and then we will close it when you have your quizzes done, assignments graded, after how many weeks, I don't know, and then we'll exit out. We close it, you'll be gone, like you'll be gone here, but we still have exit phase, which what I'm going to do is I'm going to document everything, what I taught, all the assignments, right? All the grades for further reference. I'm going to put them in a folder or print them out. That's my exit phase. Got the point? So that's how to manage a project. And one thing I want you to realize is monitoring and controlling phase. This whole blue thing, like a base, is monitoring and controlling. As we go, we monitor and control everything, right? Some of you couldn't join the Zoom link. Some couldn't register. We tried to solve it. Some couldn't find the password. It's right next to the link, but they couldn't find it somehow. They just clicked it and wanted to see the link password. So everything going on, we need to monitor and control. Some of you will be working away, traveling away from this course. A lot of stuff. That's why the monitoring and control is like based to everything that we're doing. Monitoring. So as a project manager, I guess you will be the majority of your time is going to go for monitoring and controlling and planning. Because execution probably will be some other people, other teams, but as a project manager, you will be planning and monitoring and controlling. Okay? That's the things that I want to emphasize. Okay, so triple constraint time cost requirements. Have you heard this before? I want to say this as, remember this as TSC, time, scope, and cost. For example, this may come up as a quiz question, which you don't really like study anything. Yeah, iron triangle. Yeah, they call it iron triangle, TSC. But some people will also call it, like, for time, you will also hear as schedule, and cost you will also hear as budget, and for requirements you'll also see scope. So we will talk next week about scope, right? So what did the customer tell us about this tire, and how do we get his narrative and then turn it into a scope so we can work towards the scope? That's what they're gonna do next week. Okay, so this is, again, you have to juggle these three things really well, right? Nobody likes a project management who used less money, who met the scope but couldn't deliver on time, maybe 6 months late. Well, saying that, to be honest, most of the projects are late, and we will talk about it. Almost there's no project, big projects delivered on time. It's not really common. We are always late. Well, if you are late, what do you? So just one comment about being late. If you are late, we will learn about tools and techniques. But if I am the employer, if a project manager is late, let's say it's a 5-year project, right? And then if project manager thinks it's late the 5th year and tells me we're going to be another 2 years late, that's not good. But we will learn about some tools and techniques that you can say your employer, sponsor, in the 2nd year or 3rd year, maybe you can say, we're going to be late, so we need to do something now, right? So it's not only being late is fine, but it's more important, well, not fine, but most of the time acceptable, because they don't have any other choice, because you put all this money and investment in there. But you got to tell them, like, early enough, as early as possible, to be able to mitigate the risks. Okay, so there's also extended constraint, and risk is one of them, which we will cover, and communication we will be covering in soft skills a lot. Quality is one of them. I will not get into quality probably. Satisfaction is another one. So it's not only time, scope, and cost. There's other things as well that project management should be taken care of. So as you can see the some of the highlights for a project management here. I hope you will have your team saying that I'm going to come with you. I'm going to, follow you, and hopefully you can be good leaders. So there are also program managers, right? I wanted you to read that one, but I want to like talk about this hierarchy. We have 7 minutes. So project management, right? So at the very lowest level, we have project managers, and one above them, there's program managers, and then one above them, portfolio managers, right? Portfolio. I'm saying this kind of a hierarchy because sometimes you will see projects with no program manager. Sometimes you will see program managers with no project managers under them. Okay. That's why you don't see this. It's not a rigid thing, but if there is, it'll be portfolio, program, and project. Right. For example, when Dr. Jarrett was describing this, right, and then he's kind of program manager, which has more perspective, more, he needs to contact more with other sponsors, project, the companies, and try to understand which project is better for which one of you. You see, so my role is kind of limited to this. It's not good or bad or being higher level or lower level, but my role is project management for this one, as this one, and maybe some other projects going on as well, right? That's the hierarchy. And and what I was saying is, you will see some projects sometimes. Let me see. You will see projects that are connected to programs, and then so every program there's a few projects, more than one, and every portfolio there's more than one programs. But sometimes you will have projects that are connected to portfolio manager. There's no program manager in between. And there may be some reasons for those, like if they have really, really big budget, right? If you want to eliminate the bureaucracy a little bit, so you don't really put a program manager in between the portfolio manager. If it needs close attention, right? If it needs close attention, you don't want a program manager in between portfolio manager and project manager, right? If it's really long term, right, then it may be just a loan project connected to portfolio. Okay. And you can differentiate projects and programs. Just quickly in 5 minutes, projects have deliverables. It has started, for example, assignments, there's times that we meet, there's like last time that you can attend, benefits realized during the project, like you're learning and contributing during the project, like when we teach. It's shorter time scale, right? It's driven by vision of end state. Okay. In this EPICS program, what do we want to do, right? Or more beneficial to students, right? There's no predefined path. So think about it. My role as a project manager, let's say we don't have a set time to meet. It always changes. We don't know what the assignments are. We don't have a canvas site. That's bad, right? That's not a good project management. But in program management, you may have this kind of stuff like no predefined path, because the changes, it depends on business capability. If students request something and it has a longer time scale. Okay, so this is kind of a difference between project and programs. Let's see what I have left. I have only 2 minutes. Yeah, you will spend your time on planning and monitoring and controlling the more for you to learn. So work breakdown structure. I will just make a 1 minute introduction and next time we will start. So whatever you want to do in your project, you want to break them down to parts and sections and phases, right? It depends on what you want to do. So you kind of think about your project and what's the major subsystem of the project, the task, the subtask, and the work package and activities. We'll talk about those. If you're not familiar with WBS, it'll be a great learning. And there's indented version, like in one project, what is the major subsystem and what's the task? So these numbers are unique, right? So this is 111, this is 112. Let's look at this one, 112, 112. This is 111, 112. So it's unique numbering is happening here. Okay. And then you can also, you probably see it this way, which is graphical. Most of the time you will see WBS as graphical. Okay. And and just one more thing before you go, think about how does project manager define scope and resources. So how do you get that this customer need and make them tell us their story and their need, and how can we define that our scope and resources so we can accomplish the project well. We will talk about it next time. Thank you so much. We are right on time. So any questions?